So as Korea starts to accept more and more immigration, maybe needing to accept more with how small or how little the childbirth is these days, there are going to be opportunities for either other cultures to come here as families or for people to marry into Korean culture, creating these multicultural families. However, because of this, the government has started to increase funding, increase subsidies, increase some incentive programs in order to bolster Korea's infrastructure to help multicultural families exist in a more comfortable and kind of streamlined way, so that it's not a huge burden, right? And so because of this, they have really started to invest a lot of money into, let's say, in the article, schools. And in these schools, I think it was 181,000 different multicultural students are going to these schools. And not even though the government is helping them get there, and even though there's a lot of government support for this, there seems to be cultural pushback in some ways. Some kids anecdotally are reporting that there's a lot of tension when it comes to them being there. Mm-hmm. There might even be blatant, what we might call racism or at least discrimination against them as they are going to these schools. And even the families report this too as they are going about their daily lives. So the article kind of questions what Korea needs to do to have this full acceptance, or maybe, Korea is really good at accepting versus other countries, but kind of like this dichotomy or I guess separation between the government pushing for this acceptance and the actual society's acceptance of multicultural families. So a lot of anecdotal evidence so far. We don't get into too many details, but if you check the news, every once in a while you will see some of this coming out. Even, personal stories or even things caught on tape. But yeah, one of the stories in there was what? It was, one of the students was introduced to the classroom as a non-Korean, causing a lot of the Korean students to bully them and kind of look down upon them. So yeah, kind of a long way to go socially, it seems like, at least according to the article. But yeah, actually, let's go into your personal feelings. How do you personally feel that about Korean schools, and are they accepting of students from multiple backgrounds?
I don't teach kids, so I don't know from direct experience, but I do teach teachers who teach kids. And
so in the end, you're basically teaching children.
I'm getting some feedback, from them. They talk about their classes and so on. And I guess the teachers I'm teaching are pretty well connected with other cultures. They're in high-level English classes. They read a lot. They are very familiar. So they're not the type, I think, that would be very discriminatory. But they are aware that they're trying their best, to teach their students about open-mindedness and understanding and, and helping one another. But it's an uphill battle. They are finding that, the teacher is not the only influence on the child, the society that they're surrounded by, and the parents, etc., their friends, their neighbors, often don't have perhaps the most open mind, the most accepting attitude towards those who are a bit different. So it's a work in progress is the feeling that I get. It's not terrible, it's getting better, improvements are being made, but it's not there yet. That's the impression I get from my students who are teachers.
And with different impressions you might get from students, would they agree that Korea is on the better side of accepting multicultural families, or maybe on the more needing improvement side?
I think, again, if you talk to the students as a whole, including the ones that don't teach children, they generally feel like Korea is moving in this direction to more acceptance, to greater openness. People travel more, understand more, know more, and that's bringing about, greater acceptance of diversity.
Yeah. Oh, wonderful. It's good news, though.
Yeah, positive.
someday maybe the government's actions and the social actions can come together and create a pretty beneficial space for children, especially in school.
Yeah, it takes time, I think, learning and understanding, transforming a society from 10 years ago, the strong, solid belief that Korea was this monoculture and this, singular place with a single, unique way of doing things. I mean, I think there's been a huge amount of change over the last 10 years, but it's going to take, a bit more than that. I think 10 years even is too short.
But if we learned anything from history, we know Korea changes fast.
Korea is good at change, yes.
And accepting it. I think Korea has the highest number of elderly using technology, let's say smartphones, in the world. So it's very accepting of new ideas too. Anyways. All right, well, that's all the time we have for us. But for you, it seems like I just checked, you have more time for vocabulary. So go ahead and jump down to that section below and go ahead and get as many of those words jammed in your brain as possible and try to use them in your everyday life. And we'll see you next time. Bye.
Multicultural.
Multicultural.
Facilitate.
Facilitate.
Bolster.
Bolster.
Persist.
Persist.
Considerate.
Considerate.